Look, a lot of people have an idea. Everyone's got an idea. Everyone's got a big idea, but they don't know how to execute and implement it, right? And that's what it's all about. That's what you're doing here, right? Chris Guerrera, what's the big idea, baby?
What's that big idea with Chris Guerrera, baby? We're going to help inventors, entertainers, entrepreneurs take their products and their ideas to the next level.
And a lot of it has to do with, how you got there, right? That's what it's all about, the story that led us to these places of success, right? And you have a history of manufacturing and being a 2-time Shark Tank winner. This is stuff that, gets people to understand that it doesn't come easy, right?
No, it doesn't. And you have to put yourself in the right spot. When I think about like my first time on Good Morning America, for example, right? I think we talked about, I didn't want to do landscaping. I took some time off. I didn't want to do landscaping. Let's go to New York.
Yeah.
And I always watched Good Morning America, so I wanted to actually go to the set and see what it was like. Before you know it, producer's talking to me. She asked me if I wanted to get on television. I said yes. I was with Ginger Z. I became friends with her. And that led to me actually getting a call to be on Good Morning America with one of my products, and even to do a national commercial with Robin Roberts.
Were you ready for it when they threw you on TV like that?
I always say, are you ready for it? You have to be ready, right? I always tell my kids, you have to be ready to pitch.
Yeah.
We talk about the art of pitching, right? No matter what you're doing, you have to be ready for this type of stuff. So I think I had Brandy with me. It was early in the morning. It was like 5:30, so she was talking to us around 6. And when she was talking to us, I didn't see a whole lot of emotion out of Brandy, right? She needed some coffee. I'm like, hey, Brandy, can you at least smile for me?
Yeah.
Like she's interviewing me to be on television. And it was kind of ironic. That's exactly what she was doing. I didn't know that at the time, right? And then she came back and said, hey, you like baseball, right? We're doing a promotion with the Mets, and you want to be on TV with Ginger Z. We're going to give you some tickets to a luxury box. And that's all she needed to say. And I took that to 5 times on Good Morning America, including proposing live to Brandy on Good Morning America.
What? Oh, we got to hear that from Brandy's perspective. That'd be crazy.
That was the F-bomb heard around the world.
What do you think is your it factor, being a killer on TV, right? You got to be able, to get invited back 5 times, you got to be a killer. So what's your differentiator, Chris
I think
Guerrera?
you have to be sincere, right? You have to have credibility. You have to be able to talk and have some substance in what you're saying.
Right.
And I think I always find a way to also look at the person who's interviewing me, like Robin Roberts, right? I happened to meet her. It's a great story. I happened to meet her. I was living in Bristol, Connecticut, where ESPN was, and she was just starting her ESPN career. And I used to watch her every Sunday morning. That was her show, called Sunday Morning. I happened to see her in a grocery store. She was with her parents, and I said, hey, I'm gonna go talk to her. And I just casually, went up to, hey, Robin, I watch you every Sunday. You got a great show. I really love it. And it just led to 20 minutes of great conversation, introduced me to her parents. Then you fast forward that 20 years later, I can recall telling Brandy, you think she'll remember me? I had been on Good Morning America a couple times. She wasn't there. And Brandy's like, she's not going to remember you. I said, I don't know. It was kind of a special moment. I mean, I met her parents. We had a really good conversation. And sure enough, we started talking about it. We're doing a national commercial. I go over to her, and I actually someone took a picture of this. It was really great. I asked her, I said, hey, do you remember? And she told the whole story. You mean me meeting you in the grocery store and me introducing you to your parents? And Brandy's like, oh my God, he's been talking about this for the last 7 years. You actually remembered. Brandy starts crying. Robin Roberts started crying. She said, I will never forget you. And then later that day, she tweeted me out saying it was so great to see you after 20 years, and I'll never forget you meeting my parents.
Yeah.
So I think you got to be memorable. You got to be sincere. And you got to be believable, and just I think a lot of energy is good, right? A lot of passion about what you believe in, always helps.
Because people are out here on social media, people are out here in the public eye, and they're putting their stuff out there, whether it's products, whether it's any kind of business, service-based business, online coaching. Influencers are out here basically trying to get as many eyeballs on what they do as possible, and it kind of separates people from. It separates from that kind of in-person, authentic connection that you're speaking to.
It really does. And I always believe, we always talk about, is a running joke with me, take a lot of pictures. It's always like, oh, just one more. Because when I talk to somebody, right, if they don't know me and they met me for the first time, like being on Good Morning America today, right? I met Jonathan Carl. their ABC political correspondent.
Got it.
I'm able to show photos. I'm able to talk the story and tell the story, and then show photos of what actually occurred. So it becomes authentic. It gives you instant credibility.
Yeah. All right. So you've been around the room with a lot of different people. You've been mixing it up with TV celebrities, sharks, global entrepreneurs. Let's talk about it. Let's do it.
Yeah. I love it, especially my man Damon John. You know how much I love Damon.
That's our guy. What up, DJ? Yeah, Damon John's the reason why we're here right now. That's the reason why we've connected.
Absolutely. That's how we met, right?
Yeah, and down in Miami.
Yeah, at his Rise Nation, which was just an amazing time and just an amazing person. He always wants to give. I was at the Jonathan College here, and Tasha, our mutual friend who I met through Damon, she was doing a book release, and Damon was there. And it was, 500, 600, 700 people in the room, and Damon made sure. He didn't even know I was going to be there, but he saw me and called me out.
Yeah, well, you got a memorable face.
He's just that kind of guy, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, he had a lot of good things to say, and but he called me a great advocate, great manufacturer, and Damon's just a cool dude.
Yeah. Look, man, I mean, if people don't know, the way that I met Damon John was I walked up to him in a bar, asked him to be on a podcast, and a year later I was flying with him on a private jet,
right.
Filming content for him all over the world. So, that's put me in rooms with people like you, and it's been a crazy, out of nowhere, life-changing experience to be in the room with high-level entrepreneurs executing at such a high level. So,
but at the same time, Bryce, you're also authentic in what you do, right? You've got a great personality. You're easy to talk to. You're very likable.
Thank you.
That also puts you in the room with the right people.
Well, look, and the way that I've been able to create this multiple six-figure business content creation studio was off of the strength of sharing my story about it, right? Talking about these interactions, talking about the hard work that went into it. So tell us a little bit about your Shark Tank experience, the details. Zoom all the way in. Tell me the crazy behind-the-scenes shit that was going on for you to win Shark Tank twice.
Yeah, I'll tell you that.
That's crazy.
The last time we were on the grand finale of season 12, we actually closed the show. So at that point, only 12 people in the world had done that.
Wow.
And this is interesting because I did something as simple as, I think I had multiple products. I sent an email in to start with on multiple products. And I'm driving one Saturday afternoon, I get a call. I put it on speaker. Brandy's in the car with me, and it's Shark Tank. Saying, hey, we saw your application, we saw your products, we like them. So of course, immediately I said, okay, can I submit more than one? She said, no, you got to pick one. This is the decision time. Pick one, and then send a video of yourself, promoting it.
Right.
And then that'll be the first step. But there's so much work involved. I did it, got a call back, so we absolutely love it.
Well, how do you pick one, right? Because that's the thing. Entrepreneurs naturally got a ton of shit going on. They're doing everything at once, right? I know I get distracted easily. So you got all these products. They're all your baby.
Right.
And then how do you choose one? And Chris, you can feel free to chime in. You're on camera too, Poppy.
Okay,
Let's do it.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure
we're
live.
rocking. We're in it, baby. We're in it.
Yeah,
so how do you choose one?
It's a really good point because I had 2 or 3 that were really good. One was an automotive, one was like a garden, and then there was a baby product. Baby product is not easy to start with. That is a completely different market. But this was a potty training device, which reminded me a little bit of Squatty Potty.
Okay.
And I happen to know Judy and the whole team, Judy Edwards and the whole team, and I looked at what she did which was kind of a tough subject to talk about, right? Having problems going to the bathroom, and she kind of had an issue with that, medical issue, that her product fixed it. Well, this was similar in that it was a baby product that didn't use a potty training device that was separate, right? It actually went on the toilet seat itself, on the toilet bowl. The cover came down and it adjusted for the size of the child. And when I saw that, I said, it's different. It's different than all the other products. And if you watch Shark Tank, you'll see when you go on Shark Tank with a baby product like that, you get ripped apart. So I immediately I said, okay, I like this. This has a lot of potential. I actually ended up taking it to Walmart. They liked it. They wanted to give us a trial in 400 stores. It's kind of a great story in that they wanted 15,000 units, and I literally had 2 weeks to meet the window to get it out, and everyone thought I was crazy. We had an injection tool at the time. I had to develop a label. I had to develop these pads. I had to get photos put on the label. I had to get a box made. So a lot of stuff behind the scenes was going on, and my mother was passing away at the time.
Oh, wow.
Then we had to mold 15,000 units.
Wow.
But that was truly the first step, even before I got that call from Shark Tank, was to have some sales. Got into Walmart, it started selling pretty good, and then COVID hit.
So wait, you got into Walmart before Shark Tank?
Before Shark Tank.
Hold on. We got to back this up. This up. How do you get into Walmart, dude?
I was on open call. I had a couple products, so I went down to the open call in Bentonville in February, mid-February, and usually the new season is already kicked off, right? Of Walmart, right? They're already into the fall season.
Got it.
Well, he liked this product, and I told him, I said, well, I can get you what you need pretty quick. I mean, when someone asks me to do something, I always say yes. Then I'm going to go figure it out. I've seen people say no, let me get back to you, and lose the opportunity. Walmart said, hey, I'll put you in a bunch of stores, but I need this in a couple of weeks. It's all you're going to get because that's when the window closes on this product line. So I made it happen. I went back, and everyone really thought I was crazy. Like I said, I had to get photos taken, labels made, boxes made. I had to get these little silicone pads. Normally they're on a roll. They peel off and go on the bottom of the unit. I had my son, Tyler, literally by hand, we designed a tool. He had to cut out 60,000 units one at a time.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, that's a big major key for people to understand. Everyone thinks they're going to get shit automated, right? And you're going to have this massive influx of people calling you for your product. They want to take the easy way out. They think it's hands off. You got your son, however old he was at the time.
He was 21 at the time.
printing 60,000 labels to put on a Walmart distribution deal.
I think his last words were, he was complaining, and this kid works out, right? He's in great shape. I'm like, listen, man, I got no other choice. Like, it's going to take 6 weeks to get the pads in. I'll miss the window. But I can assure you he'll probably never work with me again after that experience.
And you know what? What's a huge factor to where Chris is an outlier in many different areas, not just one, but most entrepreneurs who are working on products, they can't really make a decision because they got to go and speak to their manufacturer. Chris is the manufacturer. And that's why Chris was so unique. Out of, I don't know how many people that have been on Shark Tank, I think he's the only person that ever pitched a product who was actually the manufacturer. And I think that's what caught the Shark's attention. And he's built such an amazing relationship with Damon because Chris is not only making the products, but he's the manufacturer and the entrepreneur. So he don't need to ask a middleman, you know what I'm saying? So that's where he's really unique in his skill set.
You know, and when you think about it, like the cost for the unit, I made it all in the U.S. Everything was made in the U.S. My suppliers were near the manufacturing plant. So while that injection press is molding, that labor is already paid for. So now I'm using that same labor that I've already paid for to put the label on, right? To put the units in the box, to put the boxes on the pallets before the next cycle kicks in. So there's no additional cost. I'm not paying anybody to bring freight from another country or bring it from the border back into a plant. There's no logistics costs. There's no handling fees. There's no additional costs. I'm extremely competitive because I've eliminated all that waste.
No tariffs.
Yeah, and there's no tariffs at all. I'm saying, like, you think about the ability to work in an environment that's extremely efficient, which eliminates all that extra cost that everyone's paying for. You always hear, well, I get it made cheaper in China. You might get that piece price slightly lower. Agreed. How are you getting it here? What packaging are you putting it in? Who's going to take it off the freight liners and put it on a truck and then transport it? All of that waste is gone. So I mean, and that's part of it, right? Being able to react quickly is another key benefit.
Tell us some of those crazy details about being on Shark Tank and killing it like you did.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And even before you get the nod to be on Shark Tank, you got to fill out like 100 pages of legal documentation, and they literally want to know everything about you. And so I mean, that's just the start, right? And then once you go through the iterations of setting, it's kind of funny. I always thought, like, oh my God, I passed the first stage. I'm going to be on Shark Tank. And they said, well, you got to send us another video. And then we go like,
20 more stages.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it was like 10 different levels of videos until it finally gets to Mark Burnett, who looks at your last pitch and decides, and I can recall her saying this to me, make sure this last one you're doing, make sure it's your best one. And I'm saying, what do you mean? Every one of my videos was my best one. She said, well, I know you don't understand. This one needs to be your best one. So, I mean, we did it again. We had music playing, Shark Tank music. And it was during COVID. So me and my partner at the time were doing everything through Zoom, right? She was in Arizona. I was in South Carolina. So we had all that going. And I just can recall doing the last one. It felt good. And then you get a call. After this went on for 3 months. You get a call saying, hey, we're going to book your flight. And it was during COVID. So I had to do a COVID test before. I had to do a COVID test when I landed. I had to take a COVID test when I got put into the bubble. And then I was in a room in Vegas at the Venetian for 11 days. I pitched on the 11th day.
Hold on a second. Back
Try
it
that.
up. Back it up. Back it up.
Try
so you're
that.
sending in video submissions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Give us the 3 keys. Tee it up like this. The 3 keys to a pitch, and it's not the speech, right? It's not memorizing the speech. Give me 3.
No, to me, I think it's. I always said, like, I can't be an actor because I don't want to memorize lines, right? I want to free flow. I think you have to have key talking points, and when you do your pitch, it has to be 90 seconds. If you go beyond 90 seconds, you start losing your audience. So you really got to talk about what is it that your product is, right? What problem do you see? What solution is your product having? And then what's the benefit? And I think you pitch it, and you pitch your needs. And that's what we did. We had a great 90-second pitch. We talked about the old, in this case it was a baby product. So what the old ones, the benefits of having a new potty trainer against the old ones, and it was a no-brainer. It was easier to use. It was more efficient. You're training your child the right way the first attempt. You're not going through these different iterations, and it covers the whole boundary. So when you pitch, you have to be authentic. That's really the key, is really being authentic. If you're reading a pitch, you should not be pitching. It's just got to come as a natural flow of what you're trying to explain.
How do you identify the ask, right? The ask, that's something that's hard to evaluate, is it not?
That's a great question, because here's what I said going into this. We had just gotten into Walmart. I think at the time we had 65,000 in sales, and COVID hit, and like nobody was shopping for baby products, right? They were shopping for food. Stores were closing down. I watched other baby products on Shark Tank, and they asked for they asked for like 50,000 for 5%. So when I look at that, I say, like, that's not that entertaining, right? It's not that exciting. 50,000 for 5%. I said, let's go in big, right? Let's ask for 300,000 for 10%. It's a big ask, but I know if the audience sees it, it'll sell. And I know my ability personally on selling and what I can contribute to get sales at that next level. So we went in big. It's a great question. If you watch my pitch, the first thing I say, we say 300,000 for 10%, and you hear Mark go, whoa. You hear Robert go, wow. Because that means you have a $3 million valuation, and we really had a $650,000 valuation. But as we went through it, they could see that there's some value in the entrepreneurs. They were coming at me with all kinds of questions. They saw me always answer and talk my way through it, even up to a point where I had a $1.1 million PO that wasn't issued yet. But Walmart said they would do it, but they wanted to see more sales track because of COVID. And I didn't have the PO in my hand. Oh my God.
So what did you say? You said to the Sharks, I have a $1.1 million purchase order?
I said there's a $1.1 million PO at hand here.
And who responded?
And they said, Damon said, do you have the PO? Then Robert said, do you have the PO in your hand? I said, I don't have it in my hand because I have to go through the fourth quarter. And they went, wow. It just blew up.
So they were coming at you. Did you sweat? Were you sweating in that moment?
I think this is part of being the youngest in the family. Is you have 2 older brothers and older friends that just come at you all the time. You got good answers back. And that's why I just kept coming back. I said, wait a second. So I kind of put them on their heels a little bit and started explaining what had gone on during COVID. And there's some things you don't want to say, and there's some things you really want to say that you can't say, and then you just say it from the heart and you work through it. And I recall when I had my airing party, this is a true test, had my airing party, all my friends were there, family, probably 90 people at the party. And my youngest son, your sons in particular are the hardest critics. Just like I was as a coach to them, right? I can remember when it was over, my son Tyler said, "How in the world did you pull that off?" Yeah. I've seen you before, but that was amazing. Like, you talked yourself right through that to a deal. And the last thing I said was, this just needs an audience, and it will sell, and you'll regret not doing a deal. Well, guess what? I think it was 2 minutes into the pitch on season 12 finale, we sold out of Amazon. I think 8,000 units. Like, literally, my phone was blowing up. Before the show ended up, it was like 10,000 units, like 10,000 orders with multiple units. I had to put the tool back in and make more, which would have been a whole other problem if you didn't have the tool to make it in the U.S. Then I remember talking to Damon saying, the valuation is double what I said on the show. How do you like me now? It's exactly what I ended the show with. And I remember like saying, it needs an audience, and I remember saying, thank you for the opportunity, and I walked off. And that thing blew up.
So you're talking about the Shark Tank effect, right?
100%.
So when the episode airs is when you get an initial pop, and they're very cognizant of that, right?
Yes.
So tell us about being in that moment, right? Not so much about the pitch, but what's the production like? There's the shark stare, right, where they all have to eye you down.
30 seconds.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that. And look, we only see a condensed version of the pitch.
Right.
So how long did it go? Who was really barking? Were they fluffing up their personalities for the camera? Tell us about that.
No, it's authentic, right? Like you said, 30 seconds. So think about this. Like I've been stuck in a room for 11 days. Like by the 5th day, I'm like, I want to get out of here, man. Like try that. So I know I can't be a criminal because I can't be locked up, and I can't be an actor because there's all these different movements that they wanted me to do, and it had to be natural for me. That's what I felt, and the pitch was great. I mean, I look back now and critique myself. It was truly 90-second pitch, and then there was like 15 seconds of fluff with us throwing off our costumes and throwing money at them. But up until that point, it's pretty intense, right? So you finally come down. I get called down on the last day. So Brandy calls me up, and she thinks she misses me. So before we go down, I get in a phone call with Brandy, and my mother had passed away. I told you that. She said, hey, someone's at the house. Before you go down, they want to talk to you. And I'm thinking, like, who in the world wants to talk to me right now? And then I get on, and it's a recording of my mother. So my mom and myself had a conversation in the car, and Brandy had recorded it. And she played it to me before I went down. I'm like, Brandy, you realize I got to go pitch now? I mean, it was such an emotional moment already, going down the pitch, and then you add that. So your emotions are really high. You go down, you're like, hurry up and waiting 6 hours. Finally get to go ahead to pitch. They're trying to fix, like we had robes, king and queen. I had a king robe on, the king crown. They're doing you're going through makeup. Then like it's go time. Like you're up next. You get one walkthrough, that's it, to make sure that what the stage and your product looks like it's supposed to. We had to make some changes. And then like you have walking steps, you have a target you have to hit without looking at it. But I can recall them like we're throwing out money, and the money's like sticking, and I'm trying to crumble it so it really looks like confetti when you throw it up in the air. So you get all that going up. You're trying to remember your lines, make sure you're not going to freeze, because you see people freeze, how bad it looks. I still know some people that I'm still giving them a hard time about it. But then they're like fixing my outfit, they're sewing it, they're steaming it. I'm like, there's so much action going before you even walk out. And I recall finally getting up to the first door when you walk down the corridor and the sharks are on the side. The producer says, we're going to count you down. I'm going to count you down, 7, 6, 5. If you don't walk through that door, I'm going to push you through it. And then I remember looking at my partner saying, I don't even remember my name right now. And she's like, oh my God. She starts praying. That's it. They count us down. You walk through. 30 seconds. And of course, Kevin O'Leary is the first one in my view looking at me. All the sharks are staring at you. You're staring at them. You're trying to smile. Cameras, they're setting up all the focus, taking photos, and then someone yells, go. And that's it. It could be 5 minutes. It could be an hour and a half. We were in there. Someone told me we were in there for an hour, 20 minutes. It just seemed like it was 5 minutes. And then you're doing pitches, you're arguing with everybody.
And Bryce, going back to your question about like sweating when he walked in, I mean, he was the youngest executive for BMW. Tell me that wasn't stressful. I mean,
there's a lot. I mean, I had, when I ran BMW, being a young kid, really, running a $180 million plant, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of logistics, just-in-time delivery. When a line goes down, they charge you 1,100 minutes. And I had older brothers, so I felt like I never really felt pressure, right? And it was kind of ironic that when I walked on that stage, I was telling my brother this, I felt like my mother was with me. I had this presence, like I didn't feel nervous. I knew my lines, but it really did seem surreal because you're looking at these sharks that you've been watching for 12 years every Friday night. And now you're literally standing in front of them. And then they're having these arguments with each other, and you're trying to jump in. The three of them are asking you a question, and the fourth one jumps in and asks you a different question. So I felt like at some point you got to control the narrative, or they're going to bring you into what they want. You know, and they want entertainment, right? That whole show is entertainment. They want you crying. They want you freezing to some degree. They want good pitches. So they really want to make it entertaining. And I felt like, you know, high ask. We had an high ask. It started off really like, whoa. Like, oh my God, I'm thinking to myself, here we go. We did it.
And it's so risky because you've seen people go onto the Shark Tank and ask for a crazy valuation. And the sharks, man, they rip into them. And that's why they always say, like, know your numbers. Yeah. But it's like a double-edged sword. You go in asking too little. I haven't been on. I mean, I've applied like 4 times. But, you know, they give me their reasons, and I'll keep trying. But, you know, it's every inventor's dream to get on there, you know. And I mean, 16 seasons, what is it, 45?
20 with 5.
Per season, how many?
Yeah, it's 20 episodes, and they have an option to buy 5 more.
Yeah, so
you think about 80.
You think about, you know, there's probably over 100,000 people applying,
yeah, and
they're only 40 for the season, 45 entrepreneurs.
And we did it during COVID, which was the highest application, whatever. So it was like, not only did we get accepted.
I couldn't have survived 11 days in a room in Vegas.
Well, I'm telling you. And then we closed season 12 finale, right? So we like hit the lottery. But, you know, there's even more to this.
Hold on. Landano, you watch Chris's pitch?
100%.
Okay. Out of 10, rate it. Rate Chris's pitch out of 10. Let's go.
Oh, I'd say it was a 10 because...
Oh, come on, man. You guys were busting each other's balls the whole time out here, and now you're giving him his props.
But he did. He nailed his pitch. He didn't stutter. Yeah. He didn't get caught up on anything. He nailed it. And Judy, she did a great job, too.
I felt like...
They both... And this is what's the crazy part is... They were practicing in 2 separate rooms and on the phone. They couldn't be together.
I met her for the first time. So the synergy,
there was like, he met her for the first time on the set.
So think about this.
That's crazy.
2 years being a partner, working on all these projects, right, doing all the manufacturing. I literally, as we walked out to go down to the pitch, she said, "Nice to meet you in person." And we laughed.
All right, maybe you're right. Maybe it was an 8.
No, listen, I'm my hardest critic. You already know that. I felt it was pretty good. You know, and there's a couple mistakes she made and a couple words I used twice. You'll never know. You'll never know.
How long were you on? Because they edited it down to 15 minutes.
I don't know. I said, Scott Wallace told us it was an hour and 20 minutes. It felt like it was 5 minutes.
Yeah, so.
But again, I want to go back. Even before getting on Shark Tank, there's some element to entertainment, right? So we were looking at what do we want to wear, right? That's part of it, right? You want to have a shirt on with the name of the company. So I went looking for some shirts, and I happened to see this baby blue suit. I was at Macy's, and I looked at this suit, and I said, it's not me. Like, I don't wear baby blue, but I'm like, this is a baby product. So I took a picture of it. I sent it to my kids. One said, "Oh, yeah, I think you can pull that off." One said, "Oh, no way." Brandy said no. Judy said no. So I went in the dressing room. I tried it on. I said, "I like it." So I sent it to the producer. She said, absolutely. She sent a note to Judy saying, "Go get a pink one." That's how those colors were born. Wow. And I see some people using that now. Later in the series, in Shark Tank.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, well, people are going in with those colors, which I don't think you want to do that, right? You shouldn't be copying people. We've seen people do that with Scrub Daddy. But then we said, okay, what else can we do, right? If I'm the king of manufacturing and she's the queen of potty training, I wanted to have like people like Caesar carrying us in, playing Caesar music. Unfortunately, it was during COVID, so they couldn't have anybody in, but they let us put the robes on, the crown, and at the end, we said, hey, let's make it really flashy at the end. We'll drop off the king outfit and the queen outfit and throw money at them, like to fill up your banks. And it's been a hit. It's aired over 26 times that I know of now. It's aired quite a few.
Do you see a pop in products?
Always.
Is the product still on the market?
Yeah. I sold all my assets off to a big baby company 2 years ago, and Judy stayed on as licensing, but it's still going strong.
So what was the to kind of put a cap on the Shark Tank story for now? Tell us what the offers were and what you ended up accepting.
So we went back and forth, and I think I told Judy, like, this is a baby product, so don't expect like you're going to be in control. You don't have a whole lot of sales, so I would say anything 50% for a couple of sharks we should take, and that's kind of where Damon kind of played with Lori a little bit. And said, I'll do 25, you do 25. Then even my assets went up because it became equally split amongst 4 of us. And she asked me, I said, just do it. So we did a 50% deal for $300,000 for 10%. And it all changes.
Wait, what do you mean you did a 50% deal for $300,000 for 10%?
So the offer was $300,000 for 10% of the company is what we went in with.
Yep.
We came out with $300,000 for 50% of the company.
Wow.
So it brought the valuation down to half.
Wow.
Right?
And now, was that the deal that you shook hands with right on
No.
the episode? What was the offer that you celebrated on the episode?
That was it.
Okay, it was that.
It was that.
You walked out of there with $300,000 for 50%.
Walk out of there, you instantly go and do some more filming afterwards. Right after you do all that, some more filming with the producers.
Like interviews?
Yeah, hot on the set. Hot on the set, and then they take you in the back room. It looks just like the set.
Really?
And they do another 30, just talking you through it. And
They
Judy,
have 2 sets?
Yes, and Judy couldn't even talk because she was crying so much. But after she calmed down, the second interview on the offset, they used that to close the show with me and her. Wow. It was kind of ironic. So and then even that deal changed, and we ended up becoming, and Damon really never asked for anything. He just wanted to help, and he was really so gracious with his time and offering, and that's how I became partners and friends with him in the end. So it was a pretty cool experience. The whole COVID thing was crazy, being locked in a room. By the 5th day, I wanted out, but I think in the end it was all worth it, and to know Damon and his team and to meet guys like you, it's been really rewarding.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that you go in there with this evaluation, and then they just whack it down.
Oh yeah,
right?
oh yeah.
And you've never, I was watching them on TV. I mean, watching them on TV for years until I finally met Damon, and it's. You think that you know what to say. I just commend you for being able to walk in there and do it, man. Because it's
I said it's like going trick-or-treating. I used to teach the kids, right? When we were kids, we get a pillowcase. It was empty. I said I literally went on Shark Tank with nothing in my bag, and I came home with all the candy, literally.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so it was a great ending. And for Judy, it was a lifelong dream. She had kids who struggled, and Robert at the time was struggling with his kids to potty train. It's a really cool product, and you think about it. My background is efficiencies, right? I have a master black belt in Lean Six Sigma. It's all about efficiencies, and when you think about potty training, this is efficient, right? It takes away the fear. You're on the toilet. It adjusts to the size. You're not having your child potty train offline and having to clean that mess up, and it's dirty, and everything about it's nasty. This is just like an adult. You learn the right way the first time.
Let me tell you a quick story, can I?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get Damon John to do my event. I was going to sell an event for entrepreneurs, 300 tickets, and I wanted to ask him, and I'd been working with him a little bit. So I wanted to think of a creative way to pitch him on my event. So I ordered $300 white gloves from Bergdorf Goodman. It's like a Nordstrom brand. And I knew I was scheduled to go hang out with him and shoot some content. So and I was like, I'm sure everyone asks him to do stuff all the time, right? So after the shoot, I was like, Damon, I want to ask you something. I was like, I want you to be a part of my event. Here's this gift. I wrapped it in a purple box with a bow, and he opens it up. And
creativity right there.
Gloves. And he's like, oh man, these are super dope. But it was all because he kind of busted my balls one time because I told him that he deserves a white glove service for his content, right? So I got him white gloves to wear, and he's worn them a couple times. So if you want to make an impression on somebody who's a super high net worth individual who's on the go, doing everything on the road all the time, entrepreneurs who are watching the show, they need to understand you got to think outside the box and you got to think creatively in order to get reach your ultimate goal.
And if you get that opportunity to be in front of someone high net worth, be yourself.
That's right.
Just be yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't try to oversell it. Don't try to be someone you're not and try to impress them. Just be yourself. They want that emotional connection.
Facts.